Hey everyone, Jennifer Lee Chan here from NBC Sports Bay Area. We have a new 49ers Talk podcast dropping Tuesday morning for the commute, so definitely check that out wherever you find your podcasts. We talk about the 49ers and what they need to get done during the 2025 draft coming up, how productive they really need this group to be. So be a good podcast to listen to on your commute in. So definitely check that out. For now, tonight I'm going to talk about Brandon Aiyuk. In a week, Brandon Ayuk's contract becomes even more guaranteed. So throughout the contract, there are little hits of cash that go through, and he was $45 million guaranteed at signing. So he did get a lot of money up front. And that was a $23 million signing bonus, 1.125 million base salary for 2024, and 20.85 million for this year, 2025. On April 1st, though, another 31 million from the contract will become fully guaranteed. Part of that is 2025 salary plus a 24.9 option bonus for 2026. So if he is on the team April 1st, it's 2 years. It is a lot of guaranteed money. So this is kind of the cutoff where the 49ers decide whether they're going to trade, which I don't think they do, or keep Brandon Aiyuk. 76 million represents the full guarantee and practical minimum value of the contract out of the gate. So he had $76 million guaranteed at the signing of the contract, and on April 1st, it will be completely done. There's no opt-out after this of the $76 million. So when compared to other wide receivers who extended out of a contract that had 1 year remaining on it, 76 million is fourth out of wide receivers. Justin Jefferson was first, $110 million guaranteed. CeeDee Lamb had $100 million guaranteed. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 77. Brandon Aiyuk, 76. So um, this is all via Spot Track. So really, it's a huge deadline on Tuesday. Now, we talked to John Lynch at the NFL Scouting Combine, and he said there was a huge landmark for Brandon Ayuk's recovery from ACL surgery. And that was going to happen a little bit after the NFL Scouting Combine. So we are set to talk to John Lynch again at the beginning of next week. And that is around the 30th or the 31st of March at the NFL annual meeting. So we'll get more information on Brandon Aiyuk and the status of his knee at that point. And that's right up against the first, which is when all of this money becomes guaranteed. It's a lot. All right. Ayuk's three bonus structure deal offers very favorable salary cap hits over the next 3 seasons before things spike over the $42 million mark in 2027 and 2028. So these next 2 years, 25 and 26, are a little bit more favorable for the 49ers salary cap wise. And that means he's more likely to stick around, or they're more likely to keep him sticking around in 25 and 26. 27, 28 is where it gets a lot more expensive. So that's where there could be an opt-out where the 49ers trade him away at that point, or they sign another extension if he is playing lights out. It's going to be tough to see. I mean, tough right now to know whether Brandon Aiyuk is going to be his former self. I mean, so Brandon Aiyuk has had a really good career, really nice career with the 49ers. He had 2,000-yard seasons back to back in 2022. He caught 78 passes for 1,015 yards. He had 8 touchdowns and, I mean, was the top wide receiver. In 2023, even a better season, 1,342 yards, 75 catches, 7 touchdowns. So one less touchdown, but still a lot more yards. And his average catch per yards per reception, 17.9. That was a career high for him. And he was the top receiver on the 49ers in 2023. So only 7 games in 2024, had the contract hold in, didn't play too well until right before he had the injury. If you look at the game logs for him that last year, I mean, really, he just didn't get going. He had a really good game against Arizona. He caught 8 out of 12 targets and he had 147 yards receiving. But outside of that, really, I mean, 28 yards, 43 yards, 48, 48, 147 that week against Arizona. 37 yards, two catches. And then before he was injured in Kansas City, two catches for 23 yards, and he was six targets. So, I think really holding out, holding in, however you want to describe it, was tough for Brandon Aiyuk, and he needed to really be in practice. And I know that, it was a well publicized hold in where he was on the field watching practice, taking mental notes, watching what everybody was doing on the field. It was just kind of an awkward situation. But um, so 2025 and 26 are probably years that Brandon Ayuk will stay with the team. If he's doing really, really well in 27, maybe they opt to renegotiate, restructure the deal, but there is a potential out in 2024. It'll be a 3-year, $76 million deal, and it's $9.2 million dead cap if they opt out in 2027. So the bulk of the contract happens in these first 3 years. So we'll see what happens. I've talked about it before. I don't think the 49ers trade Brandon Aiyuk because the team trading for him, they don't know what they're getting. So they're not going to be willing to give up draft capital. They're not going to be willing to give up a lot of anything to get Brandon Aiyuk when they don't know whether he's going to fully recover and be who he was before the injury. So that being said, I do think Brandon Aiyuk is on the 49ers for the next 2 seasons. Yes, they could trade him away. I could be completely wrong, but I just don't see how a team, I mean, maybe it's like the Cleveland Browns. They come in and say, hey, we want to offer you this and this and this because we need to get more weapons on our offense. Maybe. But a solid team is not going to offer a bunch of picks for a guy who has not shown that he can run a route. So, um, I am wishing, of course, as I do for all players, a full recovery, and we'll see what happens. I don't think he'll be ready for week one. It's going to be a little bit of time. It takes players a little while to get their mobility back, and it's going to probably be the same for Brandon Aiyuk. It wasn't just the ACL, it was multiple issues that were in his knee because it was a really traumatic, devastating injury. So, it could be a little bit longer. It could be mid-season. I don't think the 49ers can count on him, but 2026 is a big year for Brandon Aiyuk. Yes, he could be back and show who he is, that he can be who he was in 2025, but 26 is going to be the big one because the 49ers could opt out after that season. So we'll talk a little bit more about this later. The 49ers could end up instead. I think we'll know the 49ers will indicate what they're going to do with the wide receiver position through the draft. So if they draft a wide receiver with the number 11 or the number 43 pick, maybe the writing's on the wall for Brandon Aiyuk, or maybe they're just supplementing that wide receiver room because they're going to need it with Brandon Aiyuk not playing the first half. So a lot will be interpreted once we get to the draft, and we'll get lots of information from Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch, Jed York, all at the owners' meetings in about a week. All right, everybody. Hope you're well. Happy Monday, and I'll talk to you soon.